Failure is a lesson. I won't take one failure as a complete failure. That adaptability and openness to learning really stood out to me during my conversation with Anna Wojcik, a fitness entrepreneur in continual development, always finding new ways to challenge herself and her clients, including me. She warns against remaining comfortable with what we know, encouraging us instead to break out of the bubble, to take risks, fail and succeed, and keep looking for opportunities to learn new things for both body and mind. Here's my conversation with Anna. I'm shy. I'm the one who's going to now try to interview you, which is a bit nerve-wracking.
Don't be stuttering on me now.
I can edit whatever I want out of this.
Don't edit the stutters. I think you'll be trying.
Fine. And we've got Ramsey with us because otherwise he makes a racket outside the door.
I think this is how you should do your Zooms. Like your workouts with those headphones on.
Yeah. I think that would be, watch me like I'd be pulling the wire out of everything and knocking stuff over and tripping cats. And
extra
that'd be great. Indeed. So thank you, though, for making time today. I do appreciate that. And you are the second entrepreneur that I'm speaking with. Mm-hmm. And you work in a field that is different from anyone else I've spoken to. So you're from the fitness field. And nice. I'm going to ask you to start by just telling me a bit of your journey of how you arrived to where you are.
Oh my gosh. Where do I start? I guess I'll start from the beginning. I don't matter. Can't give you even a year or anything, but I guess I've always been in the corporate world as long as I remember, ever since I was 14, I think, which I don't think it was legal to work, but I worked anyways. And kind of like my journey was always in sales. It's always something that I've done, and I never really deviated from that. I've developed through different companies, different fields, but always in sales. And I guess what led me to the fitness industry was just kind of my own, at the time I was overweight, and I wanted to lose weight. So I said, let me join the gym. So I started going to the gym, and like most people who start out, we don't really stay consistent. We're like, yeah, we'll go tomorrow. I get a membership. I'll go like twice. But then I started taking it a little bit more seriously, and I've kind of developed a real liking to it. So then I started attending some classes, and those classes were very entertaining. There was a sense of community, and you get to speak to other people, know their stories. And I kind of like that whole concept of, talking to other people and having the similar goals or similar paths in life or similar interests. And one day a teacher said to me, she said, I think you should teach this class. You're very good at it. You have a knack for it. You got perfect form. There's something about you that stands out. And I said, okay, why not? And one thing led to the next, and I started getting certified in different classes, spinning, body pump, CX, different programs out there. And I was still in the corporate world. I was still doing the sales. So for me, this was more like a side hustle, if you will. So it wasn't really something that I put my 100% energy in, but it was something that I would do after work, kind of just for fun. I didn't do it for the money. I didn't do it for anything. It was just something I enjoyed. And what led me to really go that way 100% is that when my company that I was working for, they were a startup company, they kind of poached me from another big, huge company. And they said, work for us, bring your clients, we'll pay you better. There'll be a better working environment for you. And I said, okay. So I jumped ship, and that company started growing. And as we know, whoever worked in the corporate world, if you start off small and kind of grow bigger, there's a lot of red tape to go through. There's a lot of different policies put in place. There's not so much flexibility anymore. So it becomes really a bigger corporation with a lot more rules. And they knew I was working as an instructor. They knew that I was giving classes. But as they grew, they said, okay, we need you really here 9 to 5. Like, we really need you to be like everyone else and come in at the same time and leave as like everyone else does. And I said, well, listen, it's not an option for me. I mean, I'll come in earlier, sure, but I have classes that I give at night. You guys know this. Well, they're like, well, you have to make a decision whether you want to stay with us or do that. And the following day, I gave him my 2 weeks notice. So that's how it kind of led me to that industry 100%. Scary, but that's what I did.
Okay, so two things I want to ask you about. One that you mentioned right in the very beginning when you said you didn't take it seriously at first. Then you started to take it seriously. What was that shift that happened where you went from, because I mean, I know, like a lot of people know, it's super overwhelming to go to the gym if you're not in shape and you're surrounded by people who know what they're doing and look better than you do. And a lot of people stop and start and stop and start. So what was that trigger for you to say, actually, no, you know what? I'm putting myself all in this. I'm just going to take the chance. I'm jumping in.
So, if I understand your question correctly, is what made me take that next step to kind of leave my job and pursue the career in fitness? Is that what you're asking me?
That was the second one, actually. So, and
Oh,
maybe they're related. Maybe they're
okay.
related, actually. That's interesting. So the first one was, what made you start taking going to the gym seriously in the beginning when you were just had joined the gym? And at the beginning, you were kind of like, you go, you don't go. And then at some point you decided, I'm going in for my personal fitness. I'm changing my life in this way.
Well, I think in a sense, I started feeling better about myself. I started seeing a change in my body, in my mood. At the time, I was going through some hardships, which kind of brought me to a low. So I needed an outlet, and the gym was my outlet. So every time I'd go there, I'd see people, I'd talk to people. I made friends through the gym, even friends that exist today, Sarah. And so it kind of gave me a little bit of escape from reality. I don't want to make it sound like I was in a depression or anything, but I was going through something, and going to the gym actually helped me quite a bit in changing my mind about things. It changed my body, gave me more confidence. So all these things actually. So I was like, okay, it was like a drug. I'm like, okay, I want more of this.
It's a process. So it's a process
Yeah.
that builds on itself. So when you want to do something new, I guess I'm trying to get at when we struggle to start something new, when it's challenging at the beginning, even though we know in our heads it's good for us, sometimes it's hard to lock in and do that. But you did do that. So you said this is step by step. I feel a bit better. I feel a bit better. I feel a bit better. And then the momentum carried you forward.
Exactly.
Very cool. Okay. So related to that, then you were able to take this quite big jump from leaving behind a secure job that you had done for a long time, like several years,
Mhm.
uh, into something that was quite a bit riskier because you were working basically on contract, doing classes.
Correct.
How did you take that chance?
Oh man, it wasn't easy. Gotta tell you. Going from a job that, like you said, gave you security, basically my livelihood. I was one of the top producers there, and there's something that triggered it. Also triggered the move. So it wasn't just like that ultimatum that was given to me, but at the time I had lost one of my biggest clients, the biggest clients that the company has ever seen. They got bought out by somebody. And because of that, they came with their own suppliers, and we were no longer their suppliers. So I felt like I had to start from scratch. I had built up this portfolio of clients, and them being at the top and then losing that number one client was really hard. And there was a lot of pressure on me to be like, okay, well, we need to get you back up there, and we need to get you back up there in a couple months. And if you've been in the corporate world, you know that acquiring customers takes a longer process than just a one phone call and being like, hey, do you want to buy from me? It doesn't work like that. You need to build trust. You need to prove yourself. You need to be a solution for that client's problems, issues. So this was an IT department or an IT company that I worked for. So being a woman, speaking to IT directors, like I mean, they liked it, but it was kind of like, okay, what do you know about software and this and that? Like I had to prove myself a little extra, if you know what I mean. So it wasn't an advantage for me as a woman to work in that field. But really, I lost that big client, and all of a sudden I was like, I have to start from scratch, and I'm like, I can't. Like, there's been so many years in the making that I kind of felt like I didn't want to do it anymore. And then you come in and you kind of put this pressure on me and say you need to perform, perform. I knew it took a long time to build it. I know it's going to take a long time to rebuild. So I said, listen, I don't think I want to as much anymore. And your pressure is not helping me. So that's why I said, listen, I'm going to pursue something that I feel like I have more passion for. Because if I had passion for sales, I mean, in my industry right now, I still have to do a bit of selling, but it's selling myself. So I don't have to, work for anyone. I don't have to address a boss or anything like that. So it's for myself, and I could kind of make my own decisions and see how I want to build my business as opposed to the way someone else wants it built. So for me, it was really that kind of triggered like, hey, let's try this. I had saved enough money that I had a little bit of a nest egg to kind of hold me until like I've developed the business in fitness. But man, it was risky. I got to tell you, it was hard. It was a slow start, but here we are.
Did you, I shouldn't say did you, what did you do when you had doubts? And there must have been moments where, or was there a moment when you kind of thought, what have I done? Why didn't I stay in that? Although very challenging and a lot of pressure, why didn't I stay with that thing I knew? Why did I choose to do this whole new thing?
A part of me was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? But a part of me was really excited too. And I think it has a lot to do with my upbringing because I've been on my own since the age of 17. So I always had to hustle. And in sales, you have to hustle. And I just didn't want to hustle for them anymore. And given the pressure, like I was like, I'm done. But I was like, if I'm gonna hustle for somebody, I'm gonna hustle for myself on my terms. So it was risky, but it was very exciting at the same time. I started, getting certified in different things. I started doing some self development in the industry. So I didn't just cross my fingers. I made those calls. I did those posts. I put myself out there. I sold myself. I sold my services. I tried every avenue, people that I knew, people from the gym, this and that. And slowly but surely built my own clientele that way.
How do you think you've changed from who you were when you were in the sales job to who you are now?
I think I was, I think, I think I was very comfortable where I was in the corporate world. I think I don't want to say coasting, but let's call spade a spade. I was coasting, right? I was like, the POs are coming in, kick my feet up, let's go make a couple of phone calls. But I was like, I'm good. Like I'm good where I am. But I think I changed in a sense where I had like a little bit more sense of urgency because I know that, I have to, I'll always get a paycheck in the corporate world, whether I sell or not. Like I had that stability. But here it's like I gotta look for it constantly. And I gotta maintain it constantly. If not, then that affects my pocket directly.
What would you say might be one of the biggest challenges you've faced since you became an entrepreneur?
Well, I mean, I guess customer loyalty is one thing that I kind of knew. Like I mean, coming from a sales world, I knew that certain customers, would look elsewhere or price things out through different suppliers. And the same thing goes for here. People, it's hard. The challenge is to really hard. It's hard to convince people to make a lifestyle change. Like a lot of people, this is people's money that you're spending. You're not spending corporate dollars. Like in the corporate world, like you're spending company money. There's a budget allocated to X, and you allocate those funds to whichever supplier you like or whatever. But here, this is like people's out of pocket, right? And it's sometimes it's hard to convince people to pay a price point for their own personal health. And some people get discouraged quickly, so they don't see results. They want quick results. They're not patient, as opposed to working with companies is a whole different ballgame.
How do you find you relate to some of your clients in terms of your own experience? Because what you're asking them to do is what you've done yourself. So how do you approach that with them, or how do you model that process of getting from where they are now to who they want to be the way that you did?
I think everyone likes a story. So, I always tell them my story about how I used to be overweight, and then how by going through this process it helped me out mentally. I was struggling mentally because of some hardships. And in turn, like, I wasn't taking care of my body. And so everyone likes to relate to someone, right? To be like, oh yeah, I see, like, wow, look at you now. Like, I want to be like that. I inspire to be like that. Or I want to get to that point. So everyone likes a story. So if you talk about your own story, your own personal experiences, I think people are like, wow, okay, if you could do it, I could do it, type of thing.
Okay, so what's interesting about this is I have to say, you are one of the most resilient and most determined people that I know. And you made this transition from one career to the other career, which most, no, I shouldn't say most, but a lot of people would struggle with. And you just kind of went right into it. I
Right.
think when people look at you, they see somebody very determined, very strong, very capable. And so I'm super curious to know what you think of the idea of vulnerability. Like, what does that mean in general, and what does that mean for you?
I think vulnerability means it's allowing yourself to take risks, make mistakes, learn from them, be coachable, learn from others in the field. I think with that, there's a lot of self development that comes with that, and a lot of authenticity, true to yourself, just allowing yourself to experience new experiences.
So would you consider yourself vulnerable, maybe in certain ways?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm tough as nails on
That's
the
why I'm
outside.
asking.
Well, on the inside, I'm a real mush for anyone who knows me. But let's keep that off the record.
No
uh,
client is listening to this. They're never going to
no
hear
client
that.
is
No.
listening. Okay, all right, good, good. So, yeah, for sure. Because I mean, to this day, I'm lucky enough to have clients that are longstanding for years. But then there's others who come and go, come and go. Like, I've seen so many clients, I can't even count them all. But I can count the ones that have been loyal, have been with me for many years. So I was like, well, could I've done something different? Could I've approached them different? So I'm constantly seeing like what works, and I'm always in a state of self development. I'm always looking to add new ideas to my business, or how can I change my ways? How can I make things more interesting? I mean, I don't want to reinvent the wheel of fitness, doing handstands with dumbbells in your hand. Like, I mean, I'm not going to make it, something so absurd, but, I'm going with the trends. Like, the fitness trends constantly change. So with that, I need to adapt and change. I don't want to be another Polaroid where I just come out of business, right? And like, I'm not keeping up with the trends. So it's a constant eye out, looking out for the competition. What are they doing? What's working for them? What's not? And just kind of learning from them as well.
So one of the things I've seen you do as you built your business is you just talked about it. You try lots of different things. So you experiment with different things. You're very experimental with your business in a way that I admire, because I don't do that for my own work, but I do see you do it. And so what does it mean for you as you take these risks and you see that some fail and some pay off? And how does that affect you? Or you just kind of keep driving forward and say, I learned from that. I learned from that. I'm going to try something new tomorrow.
I think that you need to fail a couple of times at a certain thing. You need to tweak it. You need to give it a second chance or a third chance. Like, I mean, if one idea doesn't work, doesn't mean it's a bad idea. Maybe I executed it wrong. So try to see, okay, like, how could I do this, but how could I do this differently? And then after a couple of tries, if it still fails, then like, okay, maybe it's time to move on. But I feel like failure is a lesson, and it's not necessarily that I should squash the idea or squash that whole concept. Just like, I'll be like, okay, I really want to do this. I'm really like, I have a good feeling. And I find myself to be someone who's very intuitive. I think things through a lot before acting on them. So if deep in my gut, I feel like this could be a good idea, what are the different ways I can make this idea flourish? So I won't take one failure as a complete failure.
And do you feel like you've now arrived where you belong, or can you see yourself making another big jump in 5 years from now? Who knows?
Who knows, Sarah? Like, I mean, I started just by going to gyms, renting out space, training clients there. That's how I started. So, well, I mean, I worked for gyms giving classes, yes, but as my own personal business, training clients at other gyms. And then it was okay, like, let's do a home gym. So I had people come over, I go to their house. And then now I'm renting out a semi basement where I train all my clients. And now my company has invested into a franchise. So I'm a part owner of a franchise now. So, I mean, sky's the limit. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow?
Just you mentioning that actually reminds me of you did remarkably well through COVID, considering
Mm,
all the gyms were closed for up to 2 years. How did you
yeah.
feel as you went through that, having to be so flexible and adaptable to those conditions as a trainer?
Oh my gosh. Like I already had my foot in the industry, obviously. So I had, the classes I was giving, the clients, the people that I knew from those classes. COVID hit, everything closed. And I was like, well, why should we stop? Let's do this through Zoom. Let's continue because the gym's closed. I didn't stop. I didn't stop my workouts. I invested in equipment. I bought equipment. I put him here in the living room. It was a disaster that at the time I didn't have my own space. So I just put him here in the living room or in the dining area. It was a complete disaster, but it worked. It kept me sane. It kept me busy. It kept on with my goals. So I was like, if I could do it, like let me get those people who want that, who not necessarily have the means or the access to equipment. Let's do a workout. Let me give them something that they could do at home because they were coached by me, but now they don't have a coach present. They still need that. So let's do it through Zoom. We don't have to see each other like in face to face. Let's do it over video. And it worked wonders.
It actually worked amazing. I'm just going to reference quickly the fact that you had me flipping tires down my hallway. So that's part of a
Yes,
workout.
I remember. Those were
Epic.
good times.
Good times, good times. But also that
With
amazing.
what we got.
Yeah, no, that was super cool. But it also is interesting because that has remained now part of your business. So I still do Zoom with you once a week. We would never have done that before COVID, but it adds to the repertoire of offerings that you have now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You're amazingly adaptable.
You have to be.
You have to be able to learn and progress. And if you're not, you don't, I think.
I feel like people are not meant to be stagnant. People are meant to develop. I mean, our bodies age, we age, our mind needs to go along with that. Like, I mean, if we stay stuck in one thing, we'll never develop. We'll never have new experiences. And I find like that's why like I don't know what the future brings. You ask me like, am I stopping here? What's the plan for the future? I don't know. Like I feel like I have to be constantly doing something, finding new ventures, adding new things. Like I feel like I always constantly need to be developing. And I feel that with that, it's risky for sure. But I find sometimes people get too comfortable, like I was in the corporate world, and then like you kind of stay in that bubble. Your body ages, you get older, but you're still your mind hasn't stopped developing. And I feel like your body and your mind need to go together, and you need to have new experiences constantly. You constantly need to be learning. That's my opinion.
So, what would be your piece of advice for somebody who was afraid to take the risk of trying something new?
Ooh, it's hard to really give a piece of advice. Some people are just very stuck in their ways. Some people are very happy with the way things are, and if you are, you are. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I feel that with risks, by taking risks, you're allowing yourself to be vulnerable. And I think you need to be vulnerable in order to self-develop, right? So my advice is that you don't need to quit your job tomorrow and, start looking into something completely absurd. Like you're not going to go from an office job to a dentist. Like, I mean, there's no, correlation there, but I mean, you could, if you're crazy enough and you really want it, you can do anything you want. But if you're not that type of person who's willing to take that big leap, start with something small. Start with, I don't know, going out to the library. I'm going to use your library because you go to the library all the time. Like, go to the library, sit there, maybe you'll meet some new people. Maybe you'll find an interesting book that you would have never picked up before. Just something that is outside of your daily. And that's something that you would never think about doing. Just small things, and then small things. And that can lead to some other experience, and that can lead to another experience. So it's like a snowball effect. So my advice is take a risk, small risk, big risk, whatever it is, just do something that makes you, gets you out of your comfort zone, but it's for me, it's, I don't know, like it's a great experience just to be like, what's going to happen if I do this?
So I have one last question for you. When I asked you to be a guest on the podcast, what went through your head?
Well, it's about time, Sarah.
Noted.
No, I'm joking. What went through my mind? I was very interested because I like to share my story, and I feel like I'm in the fitness industry, but this could apply to anybody. My story could be slightly different, but I feel like it could maybe resonate with some people on a certain level. So I feel like I like sharing my story. And I feel like if it can help someone, or if someone could like be like, oh, I never thought of that, then for me, like that's a gift.
In Anna's words, step outside your daily, be coachable, start small, take risks, and grow. Check out what Anna's up to through Instagram at Coach Anna Inc. And if you're looking for a personal trainer and coach, she offers great sessions live and via Zoom.